Welcome to the complete Microsoft Copilot course. In this course, you're going to learn everything about Microsoft Copilot from basics to more unknown features. By the end of this course, you will learn what is Microsoft Copilot, how to save hundreds of hours using this AI tool, how to master Microsoft Copilot to get the best results, using Microsoft Copilot in Excel and PowerPoint to skip non-value added tasks, and if you've been looking for a comprehensive, fun, easy to understand, and very useful course, you are at the right place. I'm David Fortin, I am a Microsoft MVP, and I taught Microsoft Copilot to hundreds of professionals in the past few months. This is 100% my best work so far, and it is absolutely free. I'm very proud of this, and this is a 2 hour course, so feel free to use the chapters down below to skip to the desired part of this course. Enjoy! This video is sponsored by CPEFlow. So first thing first, let's log into the tool. So it's pretty easy. You open a web browser, you can either use Edge, Chrome, whatever you want, and you go to copilot.microsoft.com, and then I'm already logged in on my computer, and you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so basically it's just like a Microsoft Teams chat, and you can write things at the bottom right here. Okay, so we call it an artificial intelligence chatbot, and basically this is how it should look like. If you go to copilot.microsoft.com and it looks like this, you have this user interface, it means that you are actually looking at the individual's version, which is similar to ChatGPT if you know this tool. But today we'll talk about the business version of Microsoft Copilot. So this is how it should be looking right now. So first thing first, let's ask a question to the tool here. I'm just going to ask a question. I'm going to say, could you help me draft an email to my boss? Oh, sorry, you don't see here. There you go. To my boss to tell him that I am overloaded this week and that my workload is too much. I won't be able to do just that this week, right? So basically, as you can see, I'm just putting a little bit of context here, and this could do the job, right? I will just hit enter, and as you can see, artificial intelligence is just drafting an email for me. Okay, so it just got way easier to actually draft emails and all that kind of stuff that we're going to see in this video. But I think one thing that is really important is that you learn how to talk to this chatbot, because yes, there is a way to talk to this tool and actually get the best results here. So we have a prompt, and I said, could you help me draft an email to my boss? But the tool here, the artificial intelligence tool, it cannot guess who you are. So how about we do this a little bit better here? We're going to say the following. I am an administrative assistant working at a technology firm. I need your help to tell my boss that I am overloaded this week because we have the annual strategic budget presentation on Tuesday. Can you tell him? I was about to say something really wrong here. Can you tell him that I'm very busy and that I won't be able to complete the strategy makeover for the next 5 years? Okay, so we are completely inventing some stuff here. And here we go. Okay, Copilot actually added a lot of context to my email here. So it's really important to add context when you do a prompt. So when we ask a question here, we call this a prompt, and this is very important to get the best results. And as you can see, the chatbot took into account what we said with tasks this week due to the annual strategic budget presentation on Tuesday, which I also told the Copilot, the chatbot, right? So that was first thing first. I wanted to tell you, I have a lot of videos on my channel that teach you, I can't talk today, guys, I'm sorry, that teach you how to prompt. It is really important to get the best results. And again, if you don't have the great results, first thing first, make sure your prompt is actually optimized. Another thing I want to show you here is if you don't have these two tabs at the top, it means you don't have a Copilot license. Your Copilot might just look like what you're watching right now, but it doesn't have two tabs, right? So these tabs are just non-existent. It means that you don't have a paid license. And what's really cool here with the work button is that when you pay for a license, you can actually make some research through your files, your email, and your organization documents. So what you can do here, you can say, can you analyze which documents, spreadsheets, contains the word sales in my SharePoint or OneDrive, and list them here with a small brief of what they contain, right? So Copilot will have a look in all of my documents that are on my SharePoint or OneDrive. I can't talk today, I'm sorry. And here you go. It gave me all of these files right here. So it's like a mini Google internally. And if I click on one of these, it's actually gonna bring up and open the Excel file. It's so cool, right? It's so amazing. You don't actually have to go through your documents anymore. You have a mini Google internally, right? And one thing that you can do with Copilot, it is so amazing. I will show you here. What I did lately is I went in one of my video, I went to Copilot and I asked Copilot to analyze a PDF, okay? And I went to the website of Starbucks, and I will put this video somewhere on the screen so you can watch the whole thing. And I went to starbucks.com, so you know the coffees, and I asked Copilot to compare two PDFs and highlight 5 main differences between the two PDF, the financial statements of Starbucks, okay? And as you can see here, I'm not showing it all along. You can go watch the video, but it actually analyzed those PDF that were more than 100 pages long and actually gave me, as you can see, the difference between the 2023 and 2022. So super cool. And even further, I asked Copilot to make charts about my financial statement that I found online, and super nice. As you can see, revenue growth with the charts and everything. So this is one thing you can do, okay? So so far I taught you how to go to Copilot. So copilot.microsoft.com. You can also download the app. As you can see at the bottom in my screen, I have an app. When you open it, it's exactly the same thing. And just a bonus tip for you guys, you can download the app on your, here you go, cell phone. Okay, so go to the App Store if you have an Apple. If you have an Android, I don't know where to go, but be careful. Okay, I will show you. You have two apps. You have this one here that looks like that. This is the individual. I can probably point. This is the individual's version. So this is not for business intention. But then you have the other one right here with the little M365. It's right here. Boop. A little M365 that actually just looked like on my screen. And when you click, it is exactly the same as the app on your computer. And guess what? If I say something to Copilot here, if I type something, I can go back to my computer and actually pick up this conversation in the feed to the right. So you can imagine it's very handy. You are in the train, in the bus, commuting. You are asking questions to Copilot. You get to work. Boom, you open your computer and badang, here you go, you have all your recent chats, okay? And now a quick word from our sponsor. Meet CPEFlow, your one-stop solution for unlimited, NASBA-approved CPE courses tailored specifically for accounting and finance professionals. With CPEFlow, you can access a constantly growing library of expert-led courses on AI, financial modeling, data analytics, and much more anytime and anywhere. Plus, you'll join a private community where you can network with other professionals. And here's the best part, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's zero risk to get started. Boost your career, stay compliant, and learn at your own pace with CPEFlow. Click the link to join today and never stress about CPE credits again. And trust me, best instructors are on there. I'm in there with some other folks. Hey guys, Dave here. Oh my god, I just got a new haircut. How good is this? You might have realized by now that this video is actually a compilation of all my best work on Copilot so far, and I made the Microsoft Copilot Ultimate Cheat Sheet that was downloaded by more than 2,000 people, and I want to show you this cheat sheet. If you don't want to look at the cheat sheet, feel free to use the chapter down below to skip ahead into the next part of this very great video. Microsoft Copilot Cheat Sheet. How to prompt, do's and don'ts, Microsoft 365 apps and use cases. How to prompt. Prompts such as find emails, brown project is too generic and lack details. The right prompt structure and hierarchy is as follow. Goal. What response do you want from Copilot? Context. Why do you need it and who's involved? Expectation, how should Copilot respond? Source, which information should Copilot use? Here is the full prompt. I need a 5-bullet point recap of all my emails related to the Brown Socks product launch. I need this information to prepare for an upcoming meeting with tons of non-boring contents and to gather all key communications relevant to this project. Make sure you keep a professional tone as this is for a serious meeting. Focus on my email inbox, specifically emails on and after September 1st, 2024. Do's and don'ts. Use the right prompt ingredient that we just saw, Captain Obvious. Be clear and specific. AI doesn't know your fancy abbreviations. Treat it like a conversation. Give examples. Use punctuation, decent grammar. Check for accuracy, it's a new tool. In other words, talk to Copilot like it was your mom. Be polite. Application in the Microsoft 365 apps. Excel. You can analyze data trends, generate complex formulas such as XLOOKUP and nested if, and formulas, and many more such as highlighting data. Lots of videos on this channel about more use cases. OneNote. Summarize notes, create to-do lists, and generate ideas. PowerPoint. Create PowerPoint in seconds. Here is a prompt by example. Craft a vibrant presentation slides on climate change. Arrange or summarize meeting content, or transform your PDF or Word content to slides in seconds. This trick is really sick, by the way. Word and Outlook. Create concise drafts of text or emails. Summarize key points of text or emails. Obtain ideas on various topics. Transform text into structured format like tables, and receive suggestions to enhance your content. Use cases. For Excel, number 1, apply conditional formatting to your data in seconds. Number 2, write complex formulas. Number 3, generate a complete dashboard in a single click. For emails, number 4, draft a complete email starting from bullet points. Number 5, correct grammar issues so you have a professional email. Number 6, translate text from your main language to English. For content creation, number 7, generate LinkedIn posts, videos, and infographic ideas. Number 8, review LinkedIn posts for a better hook and story. Number 9, generate AI image of you in a professional context. Follow my channel for more Copilot tips. This is really important because I give trainings on ChatGPT and Copilot in businesses, and a lot of companies, they are banning ChatGPT right now. Not sure why, but I'll try to get to this. Okay, so ChatGPT has been around for a few times now. If you've never heard of ChatGPT, just go on your web browser right now, chatgpt.com. You will get there. It's a really well-known company by now. It's called OpenAI, right? And these two tools are really similar. And sometimes people tell me, but why don't I go with ChatGPT for my business, or why should I go with Copilot for my business? So this is what I'm going to try to answer here in the most simplified language possible and with my beautiful French Canadian accent, right? So first to the left here, we have Microsoft Copilot, which was founded by Microsoft, a very little known company, right? So it is the chatbot. So it is a chatbot, a chat tool, an AI tool, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Copilot.microsoft.com, you will get on the tool here, right? And these models here, or these AI tools, they work with a large language model. And what I like to tell people is that a large language model is actually a dictionary or a magic book. So it's basically a database that was actually pre-trained. So in GPT, which is the name of the model, and that was actually developed by ChatGPT. GPT stands for generative, for AI generative, generative AI, generative, pre-trained, transformer. So pre-trained, it was trained with some information, and when you write a question, it's transforming this information. Generative, pre-trained, transformer. That's pretty important. And then these dictionary, or these magic book, as I call, are like dictionaries. So if you have a dictionary from 1992, then it is an older model. And then when you have a new dictionary from 2024, it's a newer model with more information into it. It was trained accordingly to the feedback that it was received. And this is basically how it works. I love to compare this as a car engine. And like the Copilot and ChatGPT now is actually the car body that is put on top of it. And now it is actually the same for both of them. In the past, if you have experienced different results from both, it's because the tool, actually the engine, was different for ChatGPT and Copilot. But as we go, Copilot updates their engine to match ChatGPT engine, right? So that's basically it. That's how I want you to see it. Think about Copilot or ChatGPT as a little Albert Einstein, which you ask question to him and he goes into his magic book and actually have a look at his database and gives you back an answer. He transforms your answer and then he gives you back an answer, right? Quick thing here. Can it search the web? The question is yes. Using Microsoft Bing, Microsoft Copilot, and ChatGPT can actually search the web. That wasn't the case for ChatGPT before, but now they are actually on par with this, okay? But there is a difference, and this is why some companies are actually banning ChatGPT here, and most companies are trusting Microsoft Copilot, right? So when you go to copilot.microsoft.com, what is the promise of Microsoft is that your data is secure, right? So when you go to copilot.microsoft.com, you actually have a little shield in the corner of your chatbot that says that it's protected by enterprise data protection, right? This is not the case for ChatGPT, and lots of companies, they trust ChatGPT. We have Morgan Stanley, we have PwC, we have Moderna, we have Datadog, we have Square. A lot of big companies, they also trust ChatGPT, or OpenAI, I should say. So it doesn't mean that ChatGPT isn't secured. They have a huge security portal for customers on their website. I invite you to have a look at that and talk to your IT policies or IT department before making a choice. But today we're talking about Microsoft Copilot, and the Microsoft security is actually the promise of Microsoft. They say, hey, you have your stuff in SharePoint and everything. It's the same for Copilot, and we won't use your data to train the model. A large language model here, how it works is that it's getting fed from your feedback, and Microsoft promises like it's not going to feed the foundation large language model, right? So I'll get to this a little bit later, maybe in this presentation. I think that's the main difference, right? You're already in your Microsoft environment, you trust the company already. So I think that's the main thing. And then the main difference number 2 is actually that it is integrated in your 365 apps. And this is what I want to actually show you here. This is the real difference, okay, between ChatGPT and Copilot, is that Microsoft Copilot is integrated when you pay for it. Like there's a business license. I'll get back to the licenses in a few seconds. It is really where it unlocks the potential of Microsoft Copilot. So you have the Microsoft graph. So I will go real quick on this presentation here, but this red square means that Copilot, so the large language model, the AI actually has access to your internal documents. So it's doing a link between the dictionary I told you and your contacts, your SharePoint documents, your files, your meetings in Teams, your calendar information, and all of this. So that's the real difference between ChatGPT. ChatGPT can't tell you when you have a next meeting with your boss. Copilot can. And they use the same model underlying, but this is the main difference between Copilot and actually ChatGPT. Now, I want to show you something. When you pay for Copilot, you have this at the top. So you go to copilot.microsoft.com and you have this work or web button, right? If you don't pay for Copilot and you have a personal version, your interface might look like that. And as you can see, you don't have the work or web button to search into your internal organization documents, right? So I'll get back to the licensing real quick. Here we go. So that's really important to understand. I have a lot of people that tells me, hey, but I have Copilot. It's by default on my computer. No, you don't, okay? No, you don't. And let me explain here. I'm going to take some time, okay? So it took me a while to understand that. So to the left here, you have Copilot, the free version. All of this is for individuals, and we'll not concentrate on that today, but I want to give you some information about that. So if you go to copilot.microsoft.com and you're an individual with an MSN email, Hotmail, or whatever, you're going to land on the AI tool, which is really similar to ChatGPT. You see here, you can ask questions. Hey, can you write a poem for me? Hey, can you write an email for me? Hey, I need to do a recipe this weekend. You know, and that's what you can do, right? So this is free for everyone. And that's it. It's basically the same as ChatGPT with some differences, but like it's really similar. Then you have the Copilot Pro here, which is also for individuals. So if you pay 20 bucks a month, then you're going to be able to unlock Copilot in Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote, right? So I'll just show you real quick what it does. You know, you see at the top here, this is actually my PowerPoint. I click on Copilot, and this is the Pro version, right? So it unlocks a button here at the top of all your files that your tool that I just mentioned. So Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook, and Word, right? So this is when you pay for the Pro version as an individual. I don't know if we care, maybe it's for solopreneur or stuff like that, but where we really care is Copilot for business here at the right, okay? So if you have a business license, right? If you have a business license, not a license, sorry, an email. If you have a business email and you log into copilot.microsoft.com with your business email, it's gonna look like that, except that you won't have these two tabs at the top, right? These two things to switch between the work, which is the Microsoft Graph that I just talked about, and the web, right? So this is the main difference. If you don't pay, you won't see that, right? This is really important. This is really important, but it also gives you the enterprise grade data protection. So if you don't pay, but you want to actually put confidential information into your Copilot, make sure you have the little shield at the top, you know, that says enterprise grade data protection. You'll be able to put your confidential information. So that's maybe the first difference with ChatGPT. But just to let you know, Copilot, so this is free. The Copilot for Business is free here. But where it's really important is the Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? So this is on top of your Microsoft 365 license. So if you pay for E3 or E5, this is on top. You'll need to pay something more. And it is $30 per user per month at the time of recording this video. And it's billed annually. So you can't only take it for 2 months, you have to take it for 30 times 12 per user. There's no minimum limit. Before, when it first released, there was a minimum of 300 seats. So it will make it like 9,000 a month, if I'm not mistaken, for minimum 300 seats. But now if you have a company of 6 people and you want Microsoft 365 Copilot, then you can do it. And what's the real difference? So what's the real difference? So basically you will have Copilot in the 365 apps, such as Word, Outlook, Excel. We'll get to this later. I'll show you some examples of what it can do. You have Copilot in Teams to summarize your meetings, make transcripts. It's pretty amazing, by the way. And then, of course, you have your Microsoft Graph grounding. So this is what I was telling here, which it unlocks Copilot between your work and the LLM, the AI model. So this is the Microsoft Graph grounding that I was talking about. Actually, you can do some research in your company's documents, in your calendar, in your Outlook, asking the AI, hey, when is my next meeting? Or hey, can you find the last 5 emails from this or this client? And I'll show you this a little bit later, all right? And of course, enterprise grade data protection, which you don't have with the individual version. So for confidentiality issues, I really see people go really often with Microsoft Copilot for 365. Now we are in the section that I'm going to show you a little bit how to prompt, actually how to ask question to the AI. So what is a prompt? A prompt is this. So I'm in Copilot right now. As you can see, I checked the web version and the little green shield that I talked about, which is the enterprise grade data protection, is right here at the top, right? So I'm telling Copilot, hello, I am a prompt. So a prompt is just a question that you ask to the AI. That being said, super easy. And I'm going to show you something, right? I'm going to go into the AI model. I'm going to go to copilot.microsoft.com and see here I am in the web page. That's what I'm going to use for this example. And I will ask Copilot, can you give me the 10 best Excel functions, right? Super, super basic prompt, probably the worst prompt ever. And actually, Copilot is going crazy. You see how fast that was? That is the power of AI. If you have not been using AI so far, you can go ahead. So here you go. I'm in copilot.microsoft.com. I use the paid version. But as I told you, if you don't pay, it's going to be the same for you. You're going to have the web version. You just don't have those two toggles at the top. So here we go. Copilot told me sum, average, VLOOKUP, and stuff like that. For the rest of this presentation, though, I have prepared some stuff, and with AI being so unpredictable, it will be easier for me to just follow my PowerPoint here. So I wanted to show you this prompt here that I did in copilot.microsoft.com, and here we go. The results were actually pretty similar from this previous prompt I did a while ago and the one I just showed you. And I want to tell you why this is a really bad prompt, right? This is a really bad prompt because I am experimented with Excel and I know what a sum is. And for me, this is not the best function, right? But what if I will tell you how to do a better prompt, right? So a better question I can ask to Copilot. So here we go. I did a prompt for you and I want to show you how that you could shape your next prompt. So first, I gave this to Copilot. Could you give me the best 10 Excel functions and formulas for an accountant? So I gave it the goal, right? I gave him what I wanted from him. And then I gave him some context. I work in a video games company. I am a junior accountant and I am a beginner to intermediate in Excel. And then I give him more context. Most of my tasks are to reconcile data, merge lists together, perform budget versus actuals analysis, make forecasts, and also analyze financial statements. And the results of Copilot were pretty different. In the first example, Copilot didn't give me this formula right here, the sum if with an S, the sum ifs, and then it also gave me index match. So my point with all of that here is give context to Copilot because it's going to actually tailor its answer to actually best fit your needs. So you're just gonna have better results and you're gonna waste less time actually prompting even more. So take some time to craft your prompts accordingly, right? Even there, we got PivotTables that Copilot gave me and actually even more stuff here that it didn't give me the first time. So I'll let you try, it's pretty cool. All right, so I made this cheat sheet here that is absolutely free so you actually remember the formula for this. And how I like to remember that is the goal, context, expectation, source. It is on the Microsoft website and I love to switch these two at the end and say get crazy sexy era because this is a sexy era that we're in, or just switch those two at the end. Get crazy era is sexy or something like that. You can scan the QR code on this page. It's going to get you to the downloadable landing page, and then I'm going to bombard you with a lot of marketing emails for the next 3 weeks. I'm actually kidding, but this is absolutely free. You can unsubscribe to my emails after that. I don't care. But there we go. So you have the goal. So what do you want from Copilot? So as I told you earlier, treat Copilot like your magic book where you can ask for anything or almost anything, right? Give me money, I want to get rich. You can't do that. And then the context. Why do you need it and who's involved? So this will help Copilot tailor its response to your specific audience. Then in the pink here, we have the expectation. So how should Copilot respond to best fit your request? And don't hesitate to change the tone, ask for a humorous one, or add emojis to your answer. And I swear, Copilot though, the jokes of Copilot are like the worst in the world. Okay, so I don't know who's doing that at Microsoft, but maybe he needs to get fired. I'm kidding. All right, so the source. So actually, this is when you're looking into your internal documents, you probably want to ask Copilot which information you want to look through. So here is a full prompt. By instance, I need a 5 bullet point recap of all my emails related to the Brown Sox product launch. I need this information to prepare for an upcoming meeting with tons of non-boring accountants and to gather all key communications relevant to this project. Make sure you keep a professional tone as this is for a serious meeting, and focus on my email inbox, specifically emails on and after September 1st, 2024, right? So this is when you look internally in your emails. All right, so this is an example of my personal stuff here. So we are in Copilot. So I asked Copilot to search for emails. So you know how painful it is to search for emails in Outlook, right? It is actually unbelievable how hard it is. And Copilot is there to help you so you can actually give some context, right? So we are from an era where Google search is like 3 words to now like where you can actually write a whole book and give context to the AI so you can tell him where to go, which path do you want him to go, right? So I am in copilot.microsoft.com here, the business version, so Copilot for 365 that you need to pay $30 a month, okay? And I clicked on the work tab and I actually made a prompt going with the goal, context, expectation, source formula that I just showed you, the perfect prompt formula. So here we go. I need a 5 bullet point recap of all my emails related to Zebra BI. I need this information to prepare for an upcoming meeting with tons of non-boring accountant and to gather all key communication relevant to this project. Make sure to keep a professional tone as this is for a serious meeting. Focus on my emails inbox, specifically the emails on and after October 1st, 2024. And I tell you right now I only have 1 emails, and if I click on the little 1 here, it's going to bring me in my Outlook directly on the email. This is wonderful. If you change the date, in my case I only had 1 email. If I changed it to September 1st, it gave me 5 emails from Zebra BI, which is a company I work with. Okay? So this is an example of using Copilot to search in your emails. Again, you will need Copilot for 365. Okay? All right. So let's dive into the use cases already. So this is just a thumbnail. We're not going to do that right now. Oh, yes, we are. QR codes on the next slides. Oh my God, this one is a little bit blurred, but QR codes on the next slides. If you didn't have time to scan for the cheat sheet, I've put them over the 5 next slides so you can make sure to download the cheat sheets. All right, so this is the use case of how to write an email with Copilot. So in this case, we could be in both the work tab or the web tab, or even if you have the individual version, this could actually work for you, taking into account there's nothing like confidential, you don't really care. So we have a situation here, and we're gonna ask the goal here. Hello Copilot, can you help me draft an email? And then we have the context here. The email should be a draft to send to Mr. He is a client who has placed an order, and I would like you to help me thank him for his order. And then we have the expectation. Remember, goal, context, expectation, source. Expectation, I expect you to write a very professional email because Mr. has made a complaint before. You see how much context we give, and this is going to impact how Copilot will answer to us, right? And we don't need source in this case because we don't need source, right? We don't want it to look in our emails or whatever, right? So here we go. After a few seconds, Copilot actually drafted this for me. It says, certainly, here's a professional draft for your email to Mr. And then subject, thank you for your order. Dear Mr. I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing you to express our sincere gratitude for your recent order with us. We understand and see the complaint. We understand that you have had concerns in the past, and I want to reassure you that we have taken every step, blah, 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 right? So this is kind of crazy. I put the full name at the bottom, the position, the company. So we can just go ahead, copy, paste, change it a little bit. Please change it. Make sure you don't copy, paste this first portion here. Certainly here's, be careful, review your stuff with AI, right? So that was write an email use case. This is actually from one of my video on my YouTube channel, so feel free to have a look at the full prompt and everything, right? All right, so I am a solopreneur. I actually create videos, right? I make videos for clients. That's one thing I do, and on top of giving Copilot and Excel trainings. So I asked Copilot here, could you help me draft a contract? That's the goal. And then I said, I am a content creator and I build videos for companies. I'd like if you could write me a contract for my business. My business is located at 444 Flower Street in Quebec City. I'm David Fortin and my client is located in Vancouver. His business is called Oh My God, AI Will Steal My Job. And the contract object is the creation of 4 videos themed on Microsoft Copilot and Excel training. Can you make sure the contract cover the basics, clauses such as deliverables, users' rights, and payment terms. I'll review the rest, right? And in a matter of seconds, it gives me this, right? It gives me a good draft of a contract. Of course, maybe it will not stand in Supreme Court, right? I want you to be careful when using AI to do that kind of things. But on my side, being a solopreneur, I don't need to pay a lawyer 400 hours, $400 an hour, sorry. And this can be a solid draft. I can even just send it to my lawyer, and then, you know, he's going to charge me 100 instead of 400 is going to review the thing, right? So that's pretty cool. We can see it put like the, oh my God, AI will steal my job client. It put the deliverables here, etc. It says, oh, at number 9 here, the government law is in province of Quebec, because I'm French Canadian, you know. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I use this all the time. Let me repeat, I use this all the time, okay? It saves me so much time. But you know what? I didn't like the first contract. It didn't have enough details. So I said, could you add way more to it so I'm sure I'm protected? And as you can see, with the red boxes, it added ownership, usage rights, credit. It even added the fees there, the payment schedule. So it actually put sub bullet points like 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. And it's actually crazy what it actually built, right? So that was another use case, super interesting. Do you handle very lengthy PDF at work and you don't have time to read them? You need to prepare for this meeting, don't have time to go through this whole 100 pages PDF. I'm David Fortin, I'm a Microsoft MVP, and in this video I will show you how you can analyze PDF with Microsoft Copilot. And without further ado, I will start with this example right here. We are in Starbucks, a very little known company, and I took their fiscal 24 financial report on the internet. It has roughly 100 pages, and we're going to go through this example. It's public on the internet, and we're going to use Copilot. So I am on copilot.microsoft.com, and you should be able to do this only if you have the paid version of Copilot. So if you have the paid version, you have those two tabs at the top, and I already performed the first example for you. So I want to show you something here. I said to Copilot, position yourself as the CEO of this company. It is a company that sells coffee. We want to summarize the top 5 key points of this PDF in a bullet point format in order to prepare for an executive meeting, and then I linked the PDF. In the matter of seconds, Microsoft Copilot came up with these 5 points right here. It told me about the financial performance of the group, just a small 36.2 billion for fiscal 24. It gave me the segment performance, so the North America, the international, the China development. Talked to me about the strategic initiative, the store operations, and the sustainability and social impact. Super cool, but I want to highlight something in my prompt up there. I said position yourself as a CEO of the company. It is really important when you talk to AI to actually give it really a lot of context, because it's going to go in its database and actually give you information based on this context. So what if I am the financial manager of this company? Now, can you give me the 5 key points if I am the CFO of the company? Okay, so now Copilot should analyze my demand very differently, and we should see the financial performance popping at the top. In our case, you know, as a CEO, you also want to talk about financial performance. So it is the same information that came up, but look at this. The second point is the cost management, and we're talking about the store operating expense in this case, and the product and distribution cost. And as you can see, if I scroll up and I go back to my CEO question, the second point was actually not the cost management, because you know what? Copilot took into account the context of my prompt. So this is very important, okay? So that was my first example, and let's get deeper into this. If you want to download my top 48 Copilot tips cheat sheet, where I tell you what you can do with the tool, you can do it right now in the description below this video. It was downloaded by more than 10,000 people, not 10,000, I'm lying, 1,000 people. Still very impressive, right? And you can download it right now. My second example I want to show you, I went on the Starbucks website once again, this company that sells coffee, and I actually downloaded fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2023, and I asked Copilot to do a comparison. It can be so handy to do that. I said to Copilot, can you compare these two PDF and highlight the 5 main differences? When we do a prompt, we always start with the goal. Then we add some context. I need to do a summary to my team about the main improvement we have had over the last 2 years. So this is a context and expectation at the same time. And then I tell Copilot the source. Attached to the PDF, sorry, I can't talk, attach the PDF of 2024 and also 2023. It is our financial performance, and we sell coffee and many other retail products. And then I attach the two PDF. It's insane what Copilot did without me having go through the whole document. It told me that in 2024, we had a revenue increase by 12% compared to 2022. And in 2024, it told me that we have an increase of 1% in 2024 versus 2023. Crazy, right? It did this comparison for many other things, the operating income and margin, the comparable store sales, and other things such as the segment. So super interesting. I will highly advise you to maybe review these information really quick, because the AI isn't perfect. So a quick Control F to search through the documents and fact check this. If it's your company, you should have these numbers on top of your mind, and you'll be able to say, oh yeah, that's true, it makes sense, AI didn't invent anything. But I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm David Fortin. I like to give you more for free, absolutely free, on this YouTube channel, that you should subscribe right now. By the way, if you enjoy coffee, if you enjoy Copilot, subscribe to this channel, because there is so much I can bring you. But as you can see, we can ask more to Copilot. I told Copilot, can you represent these 5 items on 5 different charts? So I have a mini dashboard readily available to support this message. As you can see here, Copilot used Python to generate some code and generate some charts. Okay, maybe they don't look amazing, but imagine you have a quick meeting with your boss. You didn't have time to prepare anything. You're like, oh my God, it's in 3 minutes. I want to convey my message a little bit better. Look at what Copilot did here. Super, super interesting. It did the revenue growth 2023 to 2024. In this case, they look very similar, but imagine in your company how cool this can be. It even compared the store sales in North America and in other segments. It's kind of amazing. If I scroll down, it gave me really for every of these categories. So the operating income here, the operating margin and stuff like that. And please, please, please be careful, because sometimes, yes, AI isn't perfect. It's going to hallucinate. So since we gave it a lot of information, we could maybe ask, are you sure of the numbers on the chart number 3? I have different numbers. Sometimes AI make up these numbers, so I want you to be super, super careful. But again, if it's your company, you should be able to assess if the numbers make sense or not, right? So super interesting. It did everything for these charts. Super interesting. So here we go. That was my second example already. Super, super cool. Okay, what do we have for the third example? I feel like I'm talking so fast, guys. I just got a coffee myself. It was not a Starbucks, but still was very delicious, because I'm really good at doing this milk thing in the coffee. It's right here, right here. Okay, all right. So now we're going to go hands-on once again on another example of how to analyze a PDF. So first, I will start from scratch. You see right here, I'm at copilot.microsoft.com. Once again, I have a prompt at the bottom. I said, can you list the top 5 competitors for my company? So again, the goal. Context, I work for a very big coffee shop company that is called Starbucks. I am looking to benchmark or margin against competitor. I work in the finance department, and my boss asked me that we have a look at the competition, and I will ask an expectation. I expect you to list it in 5 bullet points. Okay. There we go. I added an expectation at the end, and I didn't put any source right here. Okay. So here we have McDonald's, we have Tim Hortons, we have Costa Coffee. I don't know what Costa Coffee here is, but I'm going to grab their financial report here. Can you give me the financial reports of Costa Coffee? Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to compare with the competitors right here. So as you can see, Copilot gave me this website right here, the Costa Foundation, and I took it really randomly, but just wanted to highlight the fact that Copilot is really your best friend. You can ask any question. Can you give me the financial report? Boom, it got me on their website. I'm gonna try and download it. Here we go. It's probably way smaller than Starbucks, but still, I don't live in the UK, so I don't know. I'm gonna save it on my computer, and I'm gonna go back to my prompt here, and I'm going to ask Copilot the following. Can you compare these two companies? For the records, one PDF is the financial reports of Starbucks, and the other is the Costa Coffee that we just talked about. I want you to summarize the differences in a tabular format and also suggest some recommendation for Costa Coffee based on this comparison. Okay, here I'm telling anything to the AI, and I will just add these baby boys right here. As you can see, I can add multiple PDF documents, and I will hit the send button. Up to here, I had this example already prepared, but now you will be able to see the magic of Copilot. It's executing the task, compare the financial reports. And again, my prompt is not too clean, guys, but the idea here is just to give you idea of what the tool can do. It blows my mind that we don't have to scan through all these documents again. We have an assistant that is not that expensive. And now right here, I don't want to do some editing, but here you go. I asked it just a comparison. It started with the key financial metrics. As you can see, Costa Coffee is way smaller, 1.3 million pounds versus Starbucks, but still you understand what I did there. It even got me the number of the stores. I highly invite you to double check all the information, of course, but see, it gave me recommendation for Costa Coffee. Copilot seeing that geographic presence for Starbucks is 87 markets globally. First thing first, it's like, hey, Costa Coffee, you guys are small versus versus Starbucks, very big versus piggy bank accountant. By the way, subscribe to this channel once again. And it gave me lots of things that I can do. Top 6, leverage technology, blah, blah, blah. And I could even ask, can you expand more on leverage technology? What did Starbucks do that Costa Coffee should do, right? So it's a conversational robot. You can ask any question, like you will just ask a question to your colleague or to anyone. So ask this question here. As you can see, digital and mobile platform, a loyalty program, blockchain technology, customer experience enhancement, and it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. All right, so let's do a quick presentation of what Copilot in PowerPoint can do. Actually, I'm going to actually show you what it can do. I'm going to do a live demo, so please pray the AI, Lords, please, please, please. So what I'm going to show you here is actually, I'm going to open a new presentation, here we go, blank presentation. And I'm going to click at the top here on the Copilot button. And like this is not perfect, but that works pretty well. So I will just click here on the second one, right? Create a presentation about the importance of artificial intelligence in 2024, okay? And I will keep it really, really, really simple. It was super basic prompt. I didn't add much detail. So let's say I have a presentation on the importance of our artificial intelligence in 2024 in a few hours or a few seconds, let's say like that, a few minutes, and I don't have time to prepare a draft, right? So I ask Copilot this prompt right here, and it's actually loading, and boom, as you can see, I didn't fast forward, I didn't cut anything. Boom, the future of AI in 2024. And I have a presentation that is actually, how many slides it did? 18 slides on the topic, right? So we even have a section, as you can see here, we have a section on the ethical considerations in AI. It made this section here. and it actually gave me a lot of ethical concern here, such as addressing algorithmic bias. I can say that in English, and that is pretty cool. And let's say let's take this a little bit further, right? Let's say we want to enhance our presentation here. So I have the ethical considerations in AI, and damn, it's a blank slide. That's bad. Okay, let's make an image with Copilot. I'm going to copilot.microsoft.com. I'm going on the web, and I'll be create an image about ethical consideration with AI, right? Simple prompt, Copilot is going, it says, I'll try to create that, and boom, it's loading using, oh, there we go. Content wasn't generated because your prompt includes wording that may be in violation with the designer code. Okay, I'll just say, create an image about an artificial intelligence robot, right? So maybe it, because we have the word ethical here, so Copilot is trained, we cannot do unethical stuff. I could have went and actually change my prompt a little bit, like, hey, it was not meant to be meaning unethical what I wanted to do and stuff like that, like it didn't mean to be mean. And then here we go, Copilot is going to create this image. There we go. So we have a robot here. I'm going to take that. I'm going just to download it real quick. And here we go. And I'm going to drag it into my PowerPoint. Boom. And then with the tool that is called Designer at the right, I can actually, boom, enhance my presentation. Pretty cool. I got in a full PowerPoint presentation that is actually built from scratch with Copilot in a second. Of course, it is a draft. You actually need to review everything and do your stuff, but still pretty interesting, right? In today's video, you'll learn how to leverage Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft's AI tool, to perform a VLOOKUP in Excel. VLOOKUP is a powerful function that helps you easily merge data from different lists. First, I'll show you the hard way. Then you'll want to stay till the end because we'll dive into the easy way to do a XLOOKUP. I have one Excel file here, but imagine that it is two Excel files. So I have file number 1 in pink, that is the financial transactions, that contains my vendor ID in column D, and I want to bring over the vendor name, the address, and the country. As you can see in column D, my values are repeating themselves, and it's going to be a hustle to bring all my items from file 2 over to file 1. So by instance, I want my vendor name that you can find in column L. I want to bring it over in column E. I want to bring over the address in column M to column F, and same thing for the country. So I will ask Copilot to do this for me because I'm a rookie in Excel and I don't know how to do it. So I go in Copilot and all I do is actually explain the situation that I actually just told you, that we want to bring this data over. We send the prompt and Copilot will come up with an Excel formula in order to do our calculation. It tells me the VLOOKUP function, and basically it tells me every formula I need for every column. Let's try it and see if it works. Copilot gave me the results of my prompts. So you have Copilot to the left, you have my Excel file to the right. And to explain it to you, I will go through the latest formula he gave me. So Copilot gave me one formula for each column. I will go to the last one. So Copilot told me for the vendor country in column G, which is the column here on my Excel file, you need to write a VLOOKUP, and it gives me some instructions below in order to do everything that I need. So let's first copy this formula, go to Excel, place myself in the country cell, and then paste it at the top here. So let's follow the Copilot instructions. It tells me that the cell D2 is the cell with the vendor ID in my financial transaction files, which is my file here in pink. In my case, it is not cell D2, it is the cell just below that. After that, it tells me that the vendor list Sheet 1 is the range where the data is located in your vendor list file. Make sure to replace Sheet 1 with the actual sheet name. In my specific case, I have it in the same Excel file. So I'm just going to remove this and scroll over to the right and actually select column K to N. Press F4 on my keyboard to lock the cells. And then on the third bullet point here in Copilot, it tells me the numbers 2, 3, and 4 represent the columns in the vendor list file from which to retrieve the name, address, and country respectively. In my specific case, if we scroll over to our data, the fourth column is actually the country. So that's what I want. And then on the last instruction, it tells me that false specifies that you want an exact match for the vendor ID. So I'll keep it as is. And then I will press enter and let's see if it works from Copilot. Yes, it works. I have USA and then I just drag down and here we go. I have all of my country for all of my different vendor IDs. And when it does repeat the vendor ID, I have the correct country because it did a vertical lookup, which is an advanced Excel function. Hello and welcome to the Piggy Beans Cafe. So now we're going to have a look on how to use Copilot to do a XLOOKUP. So we have our sales data here, the date in column A, the product in column B, the region in column D, and the salesperson in column E. And we also have the department in column F. All of this information is important to learn what I will show you to do. So what we want to do, first thing, we are in the pink tab where we have our data set that is put as a table. So if I go in the ribbon at the top, I click on table design. My table is named dataset in caps lock, and that's very important for Copilot to work. And in the other tab, the tab in blue, I have my salesperson ID. And the goal here is that I want to bring my salesperson ID over to my pink tab in my data set here and add it as a new column because I want to make a presentation and I want those names to be anonymous. I don't want to put the salesperson at stake. Cappuccino Kathy is pretty shy because she has really bad sales. So here we go. We're going to do that with Copilot. So similarly like we did with copilot.microsoft.com, but instead we're going to use Copilot in Excel. So I will go into the Home tab, click on the Copilot button, and I have a pane that will open to the right of my screen where I can do multiple operations here. So first thing first, I will ask Copilot, could you help me bring over the salesperson ID in my dataset table? The salesperson ID is located in the salesperson ID table. I will click on send, and simple as that, Copilot should load and have a look, and if I prompt it properly, it should suggest me to add a new column which is called XLOOKUP, a new formula that brings over the salesperson ID. Here we go. After a few seconds, Copilot told me salesperson ID matches each salesperson name with their corresponding ID from the salesperson ID table to provide a unique identifier for each salesperson in this table. I can either copy the formula here and paste it here, or I can simply click here on insert column, and you see when I mouse over, I see the column that is grayed out, but it adds a new column to my whole data set. So if I just click here on insert column, boom, as you can see, Copilot put the formula here in the formula bar, which makes a XLOOKUP. So what it does, very simply, is that it looks here in my column E for the salesperson name, and it has a look into my salesperson ID table here on my sheet that is blue, and it gives me the corresponding data for Mocha Mike. By instance, it is going to give me back E1005. If I have a look here and then I click on Mocha Mike, I have E1005, and it is what it does for every other salesperson. So in a matter of a click, I just had a XLOOKUP done and I didn't need to do anything. And even though if I want to know more, if I'm not too sure, if I want to learn more the formula, I click here on show explanation, and Copilot actually explains everything it has done with this formula, retrieves the ID for each salesperson in this table by using the formula, uses the XLOOKUP function to search for the value in the salesperson column of this table within the salesperson column of the salesperson ID table. So really well explained here. And second thing, returns the corresponding value from the ID column of the salesperson ID table. Here we go, Copilot made a next lookup for us in a few seconds. If this video was useful so far, please hit the like button so it helps more people, and it also gives a big thumbs up for Cappuccino Kathy. Now I want to show you another example of how XLOOKUP can be useful, and we'll do it with Copilot as well. So I have my region here in column D, which are split between downtown, rural, suburban, and uptown. As a side reminder, I want to remind you that all of your data need to be in a table for Copilot to work. So if you don't know how to make a table, just select your data, go into Insert, and then click on Table here. Mine is grayed out since I'm already in a table. And then my goal here is to take these 4 regions and split them into different new regions, because I want to assign my salesperson into 2 different regions, the South region and the North region. Again, my data set here is set as a table. As you can see, it's called region split. So I will ask Copilot to make my region split for me. I'll go back into my XLOOKUP sheet, which is in pink, and I'll make sure to select this table here. And I will ask Copilot, I want to split my column D into 2 new regions. The corresponding new regions are in the table region split. Could you add a column to split my column D into the 2 new regions? So here I'm giving as much context as I can to Copilot. I'm telling him, just like if he was an assistant, hey, this data is in XYZ column, please bring over XYZ information. And Copilot is loading, and just like my salesperson ID, he's doing the same thing with my region split. So I won't go over all the explanations. I'll just click on Insert Column here, and then I will make sure to validate the AI results here. I'll close the pane just so we see a little bit better. And as we can see, Copilot switched my uptown region to the North region. And if I go back into my region split tab, uptown region was the North region. All right, it did it correctly. I'll have a look at my South region, making sure it's only downtown and rural that it brought over. I'll remove my filters here. Boom. And then filter on my new region column and click on the South one. Click OK. And here we go. If we look at the region, the only data set I have is downtown and rural. And if I go back to my region split tab, downtown and rural, we have our split that we asked Copilot with the XLOOKUP function once again. Wonderful. One last thing I want to ask Copilot is, could you ask all of my viewers to subscribe to my YouTube channel? I hope you see what I did there, and here you go. Copilot told you to subscribe to this channel, so please hit that subscribe button right now. Struggling with data analysis in Excel? Ever tried PivotTables but just felt overwhelmed? By the end of this video, you'll know how to turn confusing, messy data into clear, actionable insights. All of this with the help of your new AI best friend, Microsoft Copilot, and yes, in seconds. So here we are to the left, we are on the free version, copilot.microsoft.com, and to the right here I have my Excel data. I have my sales data from the Piggy Beans Cafe, the best cafe in the world. So first we have our sales date. We have roughly 2 years of sale data, 2023 and 2024. Then we have our products, our sales amount, a region, or salesperson. We even have the department and the number of items sold, the price per unit, and also the day of the week. So pretty thorough sales data that you should have in your company. To the left here, we have Microsoft Copilot. So let's see, how do we talk to Microsoft Copilot? I am a junior accountant at a small chain of coffee shops. The business owner asked for the sales by year and quarter broken down by region as pivot tables. I don't know how to do pivot tables. Can you please explain how to generate one in Excel? Here are the first few rows of my data. Then we go to Excel and let's say, the first 5 rows of data. Control C to copy, go to Copilot, and paste it here. All right, and then we click submit. Here we go. So just with a sample of data, Copilot is able to analyze our prompt and actually tells us how to do it. So let's follow actually. It was so fast, right? So here we go. So we have Copilot that tells us creating a pivot table in Excel is a great way to summarize and analyze your data. Here's a step-by-step guide to help you generate a pivot table for your sales data by year and quarter, broken down by region. First, prepare your data. Ensure your data is in a tabular form with headers. It looks like your data is already well organized. Of course, in my case here to the right, my data is set as a tabular form. All is well. So now let's insert a pivot table. Select any cell within your data, go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and click on Pivot Table. Here we go. We're going to hit Insert, Pivot Table here. And then Excel asks us, where do we want to put a pivot table? Let's put it in a new worksheet here. Click on New, boom, here we go. So now we have this pivot tables field at the right that opens up. And let's see what is the next step here. We are at step 3. We need to set up the pivot table. In the pivot tables field list, drag the following fields to the corresponding area. First, we need to drag the date to the rows area. So let's take the date here and drag it to the rows. Here we go. Then we drag the region to the columns area, region to the columns area, and then the sales amount in the value area. Sales amount, value area. All right, isn't this beautiful? We have the question our boss asked for. We have the quarterly sales broken down by region. Now let's get to the fun part, Copilot in Excel. So first thing first, your data must be set as a table for Copilot in Excel to work. To do that, you just click on your data and then click on Insert and then click on Table here. In my case, my data is already in table, so we are all set. To know if your data is a table, you can have a look at the top here. It says Table Design. So when you click off your table, this little tab that is green is going to disappear. So we're going to go here in the Home ribbon and click on Copilot button here. And then you need to have your data on SharePoint or OneDrive. So here in my case, I don't. So I'm just going to click here on Turn on Autosave. It's going to ask me where. I'm going to select my SharePoint thing. And here we go. They're uploading my document to SharePoint. And now we are in Copilot for Excel. So this opens up this tab at the right here. We have a lot of different options. And the difference between the chatbot and actually Copilot in Excel, you don't need to add that much context in Copilot in Excel versus a chatbot where we told it, hey, we don't know how to do pivot tables and stuff like that. So let's ask our first prompt. We're going to ask, create a pivot table showing sales amount by region and quarter. So basically the same request that our boss asked for the Copilot chatbot. So here we are, Copilot will understand my data and it will try to do my request here. After a few seconds, we have a pivot table here. We're just going to click on add to a new sheet and have a look at our data here. There you go, Copilot created a pivot table. And to be honest with you, I don't really like this pivot table. Of course, I could just click on the little minus here like that. Boom, boom. And we have something closer to what we want, but we don't have it all. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to click on the plus again, and I'm going to show you how to remove the subtotals in a pivot table. So here we go to the top in the ribbon and click on design, and then we just click subtotals and we do not show subtotals. Here we go, we have our sales by quarter, by region. And what's really cool with the pivot tables is that they are easily flexible or easily pivotable. Can we say that? So here I go, I click on my pivot table, and to the right here, I have my pivot tables field. And let's say I will want the region before my years. I just click on the region here and I drag it up. Here we go, boom. And now what it does is that I actually have my split by region first, and then by year, and then by quarter, right? And then if we want to make something even better, we can put the region in the columns here. I will click the region and I will drag it in the columns. And boom, here we go. It's probably something similar that we want to have. We have all of our data set in our pivot table. We have our years first, then we have our quarters, and then we have our region. And then of course, we also have the grand total by quarter, and that is really nice. If I want to add back my subtotals to have my total by years, I go back in the design tab at the top, click on subtotals, and then I can click on show at the bottom of group. Here we go, and I have my 2023 totals. One more thing that is really cool with pivot tables is that if you double click on any number on your pivot table, it is going to open the details of these transactions. So let's say I will click on my 2023 numbers, the 335,024, double click on that, and boom, I have all of my transactions that makes up this number. So if I do the total here, total of the sales amount, boom, at the bottom here, I see 335,025. This is the status bar at the bottom, and something that you might not know, if you click on the number here, it's going to put it in your clipboard. And if I go here in this cell, Control V, boom, it copies the number. All right, second prompt, we're going to ask Copilot to make a pivot table with the product sold by year and by sales amount. You need to be really careful of which words you're using here, because if you use words such as create a pivot table with top product, then Copilot will make you a table instead filtered by top product. So be careful of your prompts. Use the prompt that I'm using here. Always start with create a pivot table and then put the columns that you want. Here we go here. Copilot made a pivot table. Let's add to a new sheet here so we can see it better. And here we go. Copilot made a pivot table comparing the product by year here. Super cool. So we have our sum of sales amount, but let's say we will want the average sales by year, by instance, because we want to know what's the average of the invoice. How do we do that? So we go into the fields here once again, and we click here on the values, and then we click on the value field settings. And then we can select anything that we want. We want the number of items, let's say the count, or we want the average, or we want the maximum sales. So let's say average in this case, and look at this number here, 38,000. It's going to become, boom, 225, which means that we have an average transaction of $225 for the cappuccino product in 2023. And if we do an average of the 2 years, we have $215. So the average sales of the cappuccino went down by $21 from 2023 to 2024. So our boss might be a little bit worried here. All right, the last question I'm gonna ask Copilot is to actually create a pivot table comparing the sales by department. Please make sure to add a variation calculation. Here we go. So Copilot didn't actually make a calculation, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm just going to add this to the sheet here. Here we go. We have a pivot table once again. So I'm going to add the date here. I'm actually going to take the year and put the year as a column. So we have the department by year and we have our grand total. And then you might want to calculate the difference between the 2 years, which Copilot wasn't able to do for us, unfortunately, but I will show you, and don't worry, it's going to take a few seconds. First, what we'll do is to remove the grand totals from this pivot table because I don't want it. So I'm going to click on my pivot table, go into design, And then for the grand totals, I will only put it for columns. So on for columns only. And here we go. We can see that these totals have disappeared. Then I want to do my calculation. So I basically want to calculate 66,000 minus 61,000 or whatever, the other way around. And I could actually do that, but I don't recommend, because when you change your pivot table, let's say we add something, we had the salesperson in the rows. There you go. It says we have data. And then if we click yes on that, it's just going to replace my calculation. So I will not do that, right? I'm going to hit Control Z to go back. Delete that. Boom. And I'm going to show you the real way to make a calculation. So I'm going here in my pivot tables field, and I will go under values here. Click on that. Click on value field settings. And then in this beautiful little box that pops, I will click on show value as, and then in this drop down menu, you can select different options. I will click difference from, and you can even put difference from in percentage, but let's just put difference from right now. And then we will select the field that we want to base the difference on. In my case, it's the year, it's not the department. So I will go in the year here, and I will do previous. Here we go. And look at these numbers, they're going to change. Boom, it says only minus 5,000. That's not really helpful, right? If you send this to your boss, you're going to get fired. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the sales amount once again, and we're going to drag them in the value field of our pivot table. Here we go. It's not really beautiful because we have this empty space here, but as you can see, we have the difference of the sales amount right here in my column G. And if we want to add, by instance, the region, we can take the region and add it in the row. And boom, here we go. We have our difference by department, by region now. And once again, if we want to pivot our things, we can take the region and put it up. Boop. Oop, didn't work. There we go. All right. And then we have our difference of sales amount in column H. We can even rename this column here. Put the little comma before difference, not a comma, bracket, difference. We can actually remove these brackets, still work. Here we go. We have something really nice. Now we can maybe hide this one, and we have a difference that we created with our pivot tables. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're like, but Dave, this is a video on AI and Copilot could not even calculate the difference. Wait a minute. First thing first, if you wanted help with Copilot to calculate this difference, you could have went to the chatbot that we saw at the beginning of this video, and you could have asked him for sure, you know, like just be specific, ask which column, what you want to do. But now actually, I'm going to show you something really cool that Copilot can do. And I'm going to go back on my transactions here, and I'm going to ask Copilot, show all insights. That's what I'm gonna write. It's a pre-built prompt in Copilot, and you're gonna see how powerful this is. I'm going to click here, and here we go. Copilot actually made this one chart here, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted this pre-built prompt here. Add all insights to grid. So you can see in Copilot in Excel how specific you need to be. Like this is a spreadsheet large language model. It was trained to get specific prompts and one word, and it doesn't work, right? Add all insights to grid. And as you can see, Copilot is loading right now while I'm talking to you. It's making a lot of different charts based on your data that he thinks you could be interested about. And that's really, really cool in my opinion here. So we have a few different charts. We have the price by unit, we have the number of items sold, we have the customer satisfaction score, and a lot of different other charts. And what's cool, sorry, I'm sick, I'm really sorry for that. And what's cool is that I'm losing my voice, I'm kidding. So as you can see at the bottom here, what's really cool is that Copilot actually gave you the pivot tables going with the chart. So what Copilot did is actually a pivot chart. So what I'm going to do real quick with you, we saw pivot tables in this video. I'm going to take this second here, the second pivot table, and I'm just going to cut it and paste it in another tab. So I'm going to do Control X, here we go, and bring it over here. And I'm going back here, and I will take the chart that goes with that, this chart here. Boom. And I'm going back. Here we go. So we have a pivot chart, right? And maybe you're like, but what is a pivot chart? A pivot chart is just a pivot table, but Microsoft Excel actually added a chart to it, right? So there you go, you have a chart, and I'm going to show you something really cool, how you can make a mini dashboard with this pivot chart, right? So I show this to all of my clients, and this is really cool. So I'm going to show you something. These are both linked together. So if I go here on my pivot table and I filter on anything, let's say I will filter on the cappuccino and the espresso. These are linked together. As I click OK, as you can see, boom, my chart auto adjusts. Super, super cool. I will remove my filter real quick here by clicking on that and then clear the filter, right? One thing I'm going to do though, Copilot did the average of number of items sold daily. On my case, I will want the sales amount by product, so it's easier for you to understand. I'll just uncheck it and take the sales amount and drag it down here in the value. Here we go. I have my number of items sold daily by product. Watch out, the title didn't change, so maybe we need to change this title. After all, product sold by amount, okay? But that's not what I want to show you. This is a basic pivot chart, super cool to do a quick dashboard, but I want to show you something. What if I will tell you that we will add some really custom cool buttons to this pivot table here? So I'm going to click on my pivot table, and I'm going to click on Pivot Table Analyze. Of course, we want to analyze this pivot table. I will insert slicer, and don't blink because this is really cool. At the Pivot Table Analyze tab here, click on Insert Slicers, and then I can select by which category I want to actually filter, which field, which column header. So I will want here my salesperson, I will want my department, and I will also want my product. Okay, let's say it like that. And boom, in a matter of seconds, I have slicers that appear on the screen. I'll make them a little bit smaller here and put them at the top real quick. And just do, and here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna have a few lines here, insert, here we go, here we go. Okay, so now we have slicers, and when we click on our slicers, at the top, you have the option to change the color. I'll go really quick here. I'll put this one pink. I'll put this one green, and here we go. We have super great slicers. Now, what's cool is that these buttons are actually interactive. So let's say I want to just filter on Cappuccino Cathy, which is my best sales rep. I click here on Cappuccino Cathy, and as you can see here at the bottom, as I use Shift to select more other salesperson, it actually filters both my pivot table and my pivot chart with these items here. Super, super cool. And these slicers are interactive with each other. Let's say I just take one of my salesperson, Latte Larry. You can see that Latte Larry is only in one department. He is in the Latte Legend. So these other two buttons on my slicers are actually grayed out. So it is super cool. The slicers use Shift to actually select multiple items on your slicers, or Control when they're not near each other. Okay, if you want to remove anything on your slicers here, click on the filter, clear filter at the top of every slicers, and they will become with a red X when they are actually available to get removed. Other than that, they will be grayed out, right? You can play around with your slicers at the top. Let's say here for the salesperson, we want 2 columns. We can just go here, 2 columns. You can play with height and width. I'll let you play with that, of course. The last thing I want to show you, and this is the last thing, I swear, if you click again on your pivot table, you can do something really cool. I swear, I do this on every client that I help them with Excel. It's super simple. There's no macro. It's just, super intuitive. You click again on the pivot table analyze tab here, and then you click on insert timeline. Here we go. And then Excel, it will auto detect the only field that is a date. In my data set, in the tab transactions, I have one field only that is date, and it is actually called date, right? So I click here, boom, click, and boom. This is actually amazing. I have a timeline. So now I just made a complete dashboards in just a few seconds with the help of Copilot, and it's actually super cool, super interactive. I can select the month of January, by instance, and once again, my data is getting filtered. So let's say I hit Shift up to June, Boom, it filters this, it makes my chart and my data, and then I can also play with the slicers, which are all connected, right? So it's super, super cool. And if you want this slicer to be not only in months, you want it to show years or quarters, it is also available. Let's click on quarters here. And as you can see, it's going to put every year that I have in my data set, and I can play with that, and it's going to filter my data set here and my chart at once. Let's face it, Excel functions and formulas can be a nightmare. What if Excel and Copilot could actually write them for you? How to do a formula with Microsoft Copilot, the free version of it. So I have a data set here, which is the daily sales data. And then I have a summary here in orange that I want to fill. My boss asked me to have the number of items by salesperson, but I don't actually know how to do that. So I will go to copilot.microsoft.com, the free version of Copilot, and I will ask him how to do it. If you have the business version of Microsoft Copilot, your UI might look like that, but if you have the free version, your interface might look like this one. All right, back to the Microsoft Copilot for Business version here. Actually, I'm going to ask Copilot this prompt here. I need help with a Microsoft Excel function. I have my daily sales for the Piggy Beans Cafe. It's the best coffee shop in the world. And my boss asked me to do a summary of the items sold by salesperson, but I am a beginner in Excel and I don't know how. I need to put the summary results starting in cell 06, where the salesperson, which is my criteria, are in cell N6 through N10. Here is my Excel dataset that goes through columns B through L. And then I will add over to Excel, and I will take a few of the first lines here of my data. I will hit Control C, and then I will go back to Copilot and just paste it here. Paste it. Here we go. And Copilot will actually tell us how to do a formula right here. So if you want to have a snapshot of the whole prompt, it's right here at the top, which with my dataset that looks a little bit weird, but that's fine. Copilot understood. And Copilot gave me an answer and he's like, sure, I can help you with that. To summarize the items sold by each salesperson, you can use the SumIf function in Excel. Here's how you can do it. Select the cell 06. This is where your summary will start, and enter the formula SumIf function to sum the number of items sold by each salesperson. Here is the formula you can use in cell 06. I'm just going to take this here, copy with Control C, go back to Excel, put myself on cell 06, just like Copilot suggested. Then I'm going here, paste it in the formula bar at the top, and then we will see what Copilot gives me here. It says that the first argument is the range column D. I will have a look at column D here. Boom, it did it on the region here. Copilot misunderstood that, but all I have to do is actually swap over to column E because this is where the salesperson is. So I just clicked on the column E and it actually swapped it. And then for the second argument, which is the criteria, if I scroll to the right again, Copilot gave me the salesperson here, and this is actually accurate, right? So I have my criteria, which is my second argument. As we can see here, criteria is the condition or criteria in the form of a number, expression, or text. And then for the third argument, we have the number of items. Copilot gave me column J, so this is actually perfect. I have the number of items sold here. Just a side note, this is not best practice to take the whole column, but this formula will actually work. So I will just click enter here. Boom, and then it gives me my number of items. And then if I position my cursor on the lower down corner of this cell here, I just swipe down and boom, I release. And here we go. I have all of my data. And let's do a quick check if this was right, because I want to double check the AI every time, right? So I will go on column E here, and I will filter on only one of my salesperson. I will take Cappuccino Kathy. She's my favorite. She's the best salesperson. And then I will add over to the number of items sold. I'm going to Control Shift down. And here we go at the bottom in the status bar. I see 12,711. I will actually swipe up to my summary and see if Copilot gave me the right answer. 12,711. Copilot got this right with just a quick change. All right, for the second use case of this video, I want to show you Copilot in Excel, which is the paid version of Microsoft Copilot, and it's integrated into Excel. As you can see at the top here, I have my Copilot button. So we are back in our data set, the Piggy Beans Cafe, the best cafe in the world. And for all of this to work, you will need to have your data as a table. So as you can see here, in my case, when I click on my table, I have a tab at the top that says Table Design. And my data is already set as a table, okay? So that's one thing that you don't need to do if it's already a table, else it's pretty simple. You click on Insert, and then click on Table. It's going to give you a pop-up. I'll show you eventually how to do that in this video. For the practice file that you might have right now, it doesn't matter, all right? So we're going to show you how we can actually here split the first name and the last name with the help of Copilot, because we might not know how to do this. And this dataset has like 2,000 lines. So if I go manually and start typing espresso and then cappuccino, then it might take a lot of time, right? So I will just go into the Home tab here, click on Copilot, and I will tell Copilot what I want to do. Pretty simple, right? I will tell Copilot, I want to split my salesperson name between the first name and the last name. My salesperson names are always separated by a space. There we go. And we'll see what Copilot tells me. So it's just a Copilot integrated into Microsoft Excel. It makes life easier. And here we go. Copilot is actually suggesting me a first name column and a last name column using these two formulas here. Text after or even text before here. So what I'll do is actually click on Insert Columns, boom. And as you can see here in my dataset, I have my first name column and my last name column. I already had these columns, but Copilot actually just creates new column. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the column G here, delete column, and the last name column, delete column. In a matter of seconds, Copilot actually built this formula for me, which is the text after formula. So it gave me actually the text after a space in the column salesperson. So that's actually what we wanted, right? See by example here, F6, we have espresso, and then G6, we have martini, right? And then I'm going to want to have these initials of these person, right? So I'm going to go and type the first few one, E.M, and then C.C, and then L. Oh my goodness. So Copilot actually just suggested to fill these cells with the formula. So it detected a pattern in my typing, in my end typing, if I can say it like that. And I actually didn't have to prompt anything. It just popped in my face, right? So this is perfect. This is the function that we call formula by example. And it is only available right now in Excel Online, but it's going to get to Excel in Windows very soon. So I will just click, you know what? Let's click on Show Formula. And then what it says is that it used the left formula. So it took the first letter of the first name, then it added a dot, and then it took the first letter of the last name. So I'm just going to click on Apply here. And as you can see in my column H, I have all my initials. So that was formulas by example. So Copilot just detected a pattern. Amazing, right? We're gonna try something else here and let's see if that works. So here I have my numbers of item in column J and I have my price per unit in column K. And then I want to do a 71 times 5, which is 355. So I don't know how to do a mathematic expression in Excel. I don't know how to say that in English. I don't know how to do that, so I'll just type in manually. I use my calculator on the side. You know, I type this on my cell phone, and then 355, enter. And then here, 70 times 3, it's 210. And then 38 times 4, I'm not sure how much that gives, so let me do this on my calculator. 152. Oh, I had it. I'm just going to type it again. Here we go. I just typed the first number and it popped, right? It's not perfect. It's getting better and better with time, but see, Copilot is suggesting a formula that multiplies the price unit by column number of items sold daily. So I will click again on show formula, and here we go. It gives me my sales price and everything. So I will just click on apply, and boom, I have my answers right here. So perfect. That was the first use case I wanted to show you, the formula by example, and also the Copilot button at the top. Another thing I want to show you is that my boss asked me to add the employee IDs to this table here, because we want to anonymize the salesperson. We don't want to show the sales data to everyone. So we want to code that, right? So let's ask Copilot to do it for us. So here in column E, I have my salesperson, and in another tab, another report that I actually got from the pay system, you know, the payroll system, I have another table here which contains my employee ID, and basically I want to merge these two lists. So the first thing first, this is not set as a table, and I want to make sure that AI understands my data, so I will switch that to a table. So what I do, I will just select my data, I click here on insert, and then I click on table. Here we go. And then I just have this pop-up that I told you earlier, and that says the data for your table is in the following range, A1 to B6, that is correct. And then make sure you want to check my table has headers, and then I will click OK, right? And then one thing you can do to organize your workbook pretty well is to click on the table design tab at the top here and actually go name this table. As you can see at the top, it's called table 1, and I would just call this table employee table, okay? Then click on enter. Here we go. And then I just gave a name to my table. I'll go back to my transactions tab here, and I will click on my table. That is really important. I will toggle the Copilot button at the top here. And I will once again do another prompt to bring the employee ID over. Can you create a column that will be the employee ID? I want you to base your formula on the salesperson column in this table and bring over the employee ID from the employee table. And let's see if Copilot understands like that. I didn't give it much info here, much, how could I say that? Much context, much details, but Copilot is pretty intelligent and it should understand what I mean by that. If it doesn't work on the first try, it might, it's kind of new. Just make sure you give it more details, such as the sheet name or the table name or stuff like that, right? So let me zoom out a little bit here. Here we go. So I have my prompt here that I just wrote with you, and it says, looking at your range, here's one formula column to review and insert in column M, the employee ID. And Copilot tells me what this formula actually does. It retrieves the employee ID for each salesperson by matching their name with their corresponding entry in the employee table, right? And then it gives me the formula here, XLOOKUP salesperson, employee table is going to have a look at the employee table, and then it's going to bring back the employee ID. And if you want to learn the formula, which I highly encourage, you can click on show explanation here. And as you can see, Copilot tells us that it finds the corresponding employee ID for each salesperson in this table by using the following steps. And then it tells you what it is actually doing, right? So I'm just going to click on insert column here. Boom. It added the column on column M right here. And as you can see, the first one is espresso martini. And then the second one is cappuccino catty. So 054 for cappuccino caddy. If I go in the employee ID tab, cappuccino caddy 054, espresso martini 001. So Copilot actually merged both of your lists in a second. This is the coolest trick with Copilot. Look at that. I'll just hit send here and Copilot gives me this answer right now. And he says, you should subscribe to the Piggy Bank accounting channel for more great videos. Okay, last use case, back to the transactions table right here. And my boss, he asks me, he actually wants to know the region here that we have. When they are over $500, he wants me to give him a report about that. And also when the region is uptown and over $800. So I need to do a formula and I don't know how, so let's ask Copilot. I need a column with a formula that enters downtown over 500 for sales over $500. If the region is downtown, enter uptown over 800 if the sales region uptown are over 800. All right, so we're gonna send this prompt here and Copilot will actually make a formula for us that will answer this specific question. So Excel just really got easier, and while it's loading, it's actually going to suggest us this formula right here. Here we are. So Copilot is categorizing our sales. So basically what it did is an if formula built in with an and formula. So it gave us when the region is downtown and when the sales is also above 500, it's going to write downtown over 500. And then there's another condition. If the region is uptown and the sales is above 800, it's going to write uptown over 800. I can again click on show explanation here if needed. Other than that, we can just click on insert column. It's going to add the column right here. And here we go. We're going to validate Copilot if it did a right job. I'm going to close the pane here right now. Going to scroll over to the right. And then if I click on my sales category, and then I just filter on downtown over 500, I will click apply. And then I can see in the region column, column D, if I click on my filter, I only see downtown. And then if I go in the sales amount, column L, I click here, it's only anything above 500. So Copilot actually works. We just covered in depth what you can do with Copilot in Excel, but I thought I will show you my mini series that I did, which is Rick the Accountant, that showcases a few more of the features that you can do with Copilot in Excel, and I hope you'll enjoy. Rick works 10 times faster with Microsoft Copilot. He needs to create a financial presentation for his boss. Just like his clothes, his Excel data is always a mess. Rick uses Copilot's clean data function. He then takes his data to Copilot chatbot, asking it to build a summary analysis out of his data set. Rick takes this summary data analysis to a Word document, formats it into clear sections, and saves it as a PDF. Copilot is the only friend that Rick has. Rick then opens PowerPoint. He uses Copilot in PowerPoint to create a presentation from a document. Copilot creates a PowerPoint in a few seconds. Rick wants to add color to his presentation. He goes to Copilot chatbot and asks to create an image. He inserts the image in his PowerPoint presentation and uses the designer tool to do a makeover. Rick wants to know who his slow-paying clients are. Rick asks Copilot to create a bar chart showing average days late per customer. Copilot creates a pivot chart and a pivot table. Rick changes the pivot table number to whole days. Rick sorts from oldest to newest, and Rick can see that it takes Espresso Express 145 days to pay. Rick thinks I should send them calendars, but I'll start with more frequent reminders. Rick needs to know the number of days invoices are overdue. Rick asks Copilot to suggest a formula. Copilot creates days late formula. Rick tells Copilot what he needs changed to handle partial payments too. Please edit the formula so that if the paid in full date is blank, it calculates the difference from today. Copilot creates a new formula and it works great. Rick isn't done with Copilot, just like he's not done eating these cheese strings. He asks to sort this new column by largest to smallest amount. Now he can focus on longest overdue accounts. This is Rick the Accountant. He needs to build a financial dashboard. He clicks on Add All Insights to Grid pre-built prompt in Copilot in Excel. Rick has no friends to help him. He takes a screenshot of his pivot chart and asks ChatGPT how the chart could be more visual. Rick makes the changes to his chart, and legend says that Rick is a freak in the sheets. This is Rick the Accountant. He just learned new Excel tricks by following the piggy bank accountant. To scroll left and right, Rick hold Ctrl, Shift, and mouse wheel. To navigate through many Excel sheets, Rick right-clicks on the bottom left arrow to pick the sheet he wants to go. Rick likes different tints of brown in his workbook. When he drags formulas, he clicks on this button to keep his formatting. Hashtag Rick the Accountant 2025. Rick needs to identify late paying clients in Excel. Its Excel table has due date, payment date, invoice amount, and amount paid columns. Rick asks Copilot to identify late invoices using a detailed prompt. Create a column to show where the column amount paid is less than the invoice amount, and the payment date is after the due date or the payment date is blank. Rick inserts the column. Rick can have the payables team follow up. Oh, Rick is also the payables team. Darn. This is Rick the Accountant. He takes a lot of handwritten notes. Rick's life is so boring he doesn't really mind transcribing them into an Excel file. In fact, the legend says his only and ever girlfriend was an Excel spreadsheet. To be faster, Rick snaps a picture of his note and sends it to ChatGPT to get it transcribed to an Excel file. Rick says he broke up with his girlfriend since then. Rick the Accountant needs an aging analysis of his receivables. Rick asks Copilot to create aging buckets to break down receivables into categories. I need aging buckets, break down receivables into aging categories based on the days late columns. 0-30 days shall be labeled current, 31 to 60 days shall be labeled over 30, 61-90 days shall be labeled over 60, and 90 plus days shall be over 90. Copilot creates a new column, aging categories. Rick asks Copilot to create a pivot table showing the total amount in each aging category. Copilot inserts a new sheet with the aging category pivot table. As usual, Rick can't show any emotion, but his inner accountant is very happy. Rick sorts it largest to smallest. Finally, Rick wants to create a chart visualizing the totals due in each aging period. Rick clicks recommended charts and adds a bar chart. Rick thinks that was very easy, easier than trying to keep a houseplant alive. Rick needs to do budget analysis in Excel. Some of Rick's 2024 expenses are higher than his budget. Oh no! Rick asks Copilot to suggest a formula column. Copilot creates a variance column. As usual, Rick has no emotions and is also not impressed by what Copilot can do. Rick asks Copilot to apply color to the variance column. He wants values higher than 0 in green and values lower than 0 in red. At first, Rick forgot to indicate on which column he wanted this applied. Copilot applied it to the whole table. Poor Rick. He read his prompt and added more context and an expectation to it. Hooray! Rick can now tell he overspent on his brown clothes. I really had fun making this Rick the Accountant series. If you want to see more characters, you should subscribe to the channel right now because there will be more to come. I have one more cheat sheet to present you. It's the top 48 Copilot tips, and I will catch you in 3 minutes. Top 48 Copilot tips. First, Copilot in Excel. First tip, merge data from two tables, just like using XLOOKUP formulas. Second, write complex and simple formulas. Write text functions, such as extracting text string. Explain a formula and how to do it. Make charts in a single click. Apply conditional format. Get data insights to do data analysis. Summarize and organize data with pivot table. Suggest formulas and insights. Create dashboards in seconds. Write VBA code and macros. Clean your data partially. Copilot in PowerPoint. Create PowerPoint from PDF. Organize presentation by sections. Create PowerPoint from Word document. Create a full slide deck in seconds, very great as a first draft. Generate a storyline with narrative builder. Generate the speaker notes. Create presentation with your company template. Summarize a presentation in bullet points. Generate and add images. Add image from the stock gallery. Animate the presentation. And show key slides in the presentation. Then Copilot in Word, my least favorite.
Format documents, such as adding bold, italic, or whatever. Generate a strong first draft of your document. Grammar and spell check. Summarize your document. Generate images directly in the Word document. Explain the document. Translate documents to many languages. Find specific information. Find calls to action. Draft emails based on existing documents. Generate text based on existing documents. Transform your text numbers into a table. Then my favorite, Copilot chatbot, copilot.microsoft.com. First, you can upload an Excel file and ask to make charts and analysis. This one is very nice. Second, you can attach emails and ask Copilot to actually draft a response. Third, you can search through your organization documents and emails. Fourth, search through your Outlook emails. Fifth, goodbye Google, this is your new search engine. Analyze thorough and lengthy PDFs. Create detailed and very funny, haha, images. Brainstorm ideas such as negotiation for your salary or fire an employee and you don't know how to write the email. Prepare for an important meeting. Get an overview of a topic you're not familiar with. Get step-by-step instructions. And of course, become more productive. Follow me for more.
Hey there, I'm Copilot. What's your name?
Did you know that you can now talk with Copilot for absolutely free with the deep thinking feature now released to all Copilot users, only available for Copilot for individuals, so which is a feature similar to ChatGPT, but with ChatGPT you have limited usage. For Copilot, it seems that it's free forever. So I might ask Copilot, how can I make this video better?
Are you looking to amp up the visuals, the storyline?
So you must be, oh my god, did I just watch a free training of Copilot for 2 hours? Yes, you did, and the way to encourage me is actually for absolutely free. You can like this video and actually put a comment so it will spread to more people and just send it to your colleague. Why I wanted to do this for absolutely free is that I want to become known for the reference as a Microsoft Copilot. The second thing that you can do also, if you want to say thank you for all of this knowledge that I just gave you, you can actually buy a super thanks just below, any amount you want, just to encourage me. That will be super nice. You can also become a member of this channel, and what happens when you become a member, sometimes I just randomly release free part of my paid courses of Copilot. So as you can see right now on the screen, first I have a big fever. So I'm really in my blanket right now. I just wanted to get this video out to teach as much people. But speaking of paid courses, I have bundles on my website, and I'm also very sick. I'm sorry for that. That you can have a look right now. Bundles of AI for professionals. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to have listened to my whole video. I hope that you've learned a lot and you will be able to become more productive at work. I'm David Fortin, a Microsoft MVP, and I will catch you in the next video.